everything is known by the driver. They know, they understand the business. I also realized the last thing they want to hear is for an OEM, a technologist, to come to him and then try to preach him. India is a place where, day-to-day life is driven by abuse.
This is constant for anything and everything.
It's a constant. Until I build a motor, controller, whatever the basic building blocks of EVs, until they are made in India for India, you will never be able to design good vehicles. 3 million e-rickshaws, and they're mostly in the northern and eastern part of the country. Fact.
And no one even saw that. That's an entire electrification program which went on its own. No, I think we'll take a 5-minute break. Sound is sick. So friends, welcome back. This is Maxson Lewis, your host on Maxson Mobility, and we are continuing our conversation with Dr. Amitabh Saran. So welcome, Dr. Amitabh Saran again.
Thank you. Thanks again. So 75% of the fuel that you burn in a diesel vehicle is not going towards propelling the vehicle forward.
Correct.
Fact.
Absolutely. Spot on.
100 रुपए में से 75 रुपीज 75 रुपए उड़ा रहे हैं. गवर्नमेंट चेंज हो जाती है 5-10 रुपए फ्यूल के प्राइस पे. 75 रुपीज यू बर्न एंड नो वन आस्क्स क्वेश्चन अबाउट दैट. वो तो ऐसा ही है भाई, क्या कर सकते, वो तो ऐसा ही होगा. So we said, okay, if there's 75% of wasted energy, where is that energy going in making that sound, that vibration, that heat, that noise, all that is energy, what is it's coming from your gas, by the way. Correct. Right? So everything, every time your tires screech, it's coming from your, और कहीं से energy नहीं आ रही. So can we reuse some of that energy and convert that energy into electric energy? Okay. And then use the electric energy to run the motor. And the motor works alongside the engine. See, you have a gearing system in vehicles, right? Why? Because 2200, 2300 in most petrol cars is the ideal RPM to be at. Correct. So you'll go to, first gear, and then again going, and finally you will come down to this place because that is where your maximum mileage comes. This is where the right RPM, the right efficiency is, the right all that, right? So, great. So you do that. So we said that instead of having to constantly change this, what if my motor could assist the engine? Got it. Constantly keep it running at that RPM. So if it's low, you increase it. If it's high, bring it down. And I'm wondering, okay, can this really happen? So anyway, I think just one step before that, I'm a computer science guy, right? I don't know anything about automobiles. मुझे क्या पता कैसे बनानी है गाड़ी, क्या करना है. So the only guy I knew who was remotely close to vehicles was this gentleman, a Norwegian American guy by the name of Lasse Moklegard, based in the US. Right? He was 6 years my junior. So when I was doing my PhD, he was doing his undergrad. We just happened, it's a long story on how we became friends, but we happened to become friends. So I called up Lasse one day and I said, hey, Lasse, we need to do something about this man. I said, what did you get yourself into now? I said, no, I need to do something. This is really bad for India and this and that. He said, okay, can you send me some driving data from India? So 2011, you'll be surprised to know there aren't too many readily available GPS systems that I can plug into my car to be able to send him that data. So from there, he sends me potentiometers, he sends me data acquirers, he sends me all those kinds of things to be in a position to record data. All this information on a vehicle. On a vehicle, just driving vehicle. He said, why don't you just drive and send it to me? I said, okay. So I still remember I begged my wife to get her Honda because I thought that would be better driving data than my old car. So anyway, she said, no holes, don't do this, don't do that. It was a brand new Jazz that she had brought. So anyway, so I instrumented that and I collected this driving data and I sent it over to him, emailed it to him. And very next day, he calls me up and he says, dude, who was driving? I said, how does it matter? No, who's driving? I said, I was driving. What happened? You were driving very well when you were in California. What happened now?
Oh, he could say that, tell that.
So I said, he said, you're constantly accelerating, deaccelerating, accelerating, deaccelerating. I said, but that's the nature of how we drive here, because there is always someone trying to cut you off, someone trying to overtake you. There's a red light, there's something, there's this. You're competing with all kinds of heterogeneous traffic on the same road. So he said, this is really nice. So I said, no, it's very difficult to drive here. So he said, no, but from an energy perspective, this is very good. So he started running all his models and all that, and to say that, dude, there is a lot of energy that we can actually conserve. And you'll be surprised to know, Max, using an 8 kilowatt electric motor, and this is something that cannot be questioned now. This has been set into by ourselves also and by other SAE papers. With just an 8 kilowatt machine running in your car, you can actually get an improvement of up to 56% in your mileage, theoretically. Up to 56% proven. That's the maximum theoretically possible. So out of the 80% waste, if you were in a position to ideally, you could recover 56%
out of that 80%.
It's amazing what you can do with just an 8 kilowatt machine. Anyway, so LASA was fortunately able to get Dr. John Bangura. Dr. John is a PhD in electromagnetics. LASA did his PhD in control engineering, funded by Ford and all that. John was a PhD in electromagnetics, rotating machines. So he came up with machine designs and those kinds of things. And then Shailendra was able to get on board, Bits Pilani, Ahmedabad, and all that, with a lot of expertise in finance and manufacturing. None of us had any idea of manufacturing or running a company in India. So what we said is that, there's 75% of energy that can potentially be recuperated. So instead of taking 2011, 91% of India's electricity is coming from coal grids.
Correct.
And so we said, hey, it won't make sense to take electricity from coal grids. So there's so much energy being wasted. Can we recuperate that? So we will come up with an electric kit that can be retrofit alongside your diesel engine, converting that entire vehicle into a diesel hybrid.
And what happened? Where did it go?
Okay. So first of all, we want to do everything above board, which means that I am not one of those guys who will, spuriously retrofit something, and hence an entire standard is worked upon.
Okay.
Fortunately for me, there are a few others in the field, and together, along with ARAI, there is a standard for hybridization of vehicles in India. It is called AIS 123 Part 1.
Correct.
Believe it or not, India is likely the only country in the world that has a standard for electric hybridization. Because CNG hybridization exists already.
Absolutely, it exists. Correct.
So electric hybridization. Anyway, so that's great. We do that. We do implement our system, and you'll be surprised to know that we had Avis Rent a Car, we had Easy Cabs, the Indian Air Force, Big Basket. A lot of them were our customers for this hybridization. Coca-Cola was our customer for hybridization, and we focused on the Maruti Suzuki. Maruti Suzuki Desire.
Okay.
Desire, because that's the largest selling taxi. Then the Toyota Etios, again taxi. Indigo, again taxi segment, and the Tata AC.
And how many vehicles you managed to?
So must have been in the few hundreds, maybe about 900, 800, 900.
Okay. Then why didn't it take off?
Yeah. So okay.
Or
so we
did it
realized
take off
that.
and
So I'm talking about now, this is 2015, and we start rolling. So first part of that is building the solution. And for that, we have global patents that were granted to us on the technologies that we built. Diesel engines have very little space. If you look inside a diesel engine, you'll realize you don't know where the engine breathes. Very compact, very, very solid engines.
Right.
Where do you put a 8 kilowatt machine inside it, and then a controller, and then a battery pack and all that? Where do you put all that thing inside? So that's when miniaturization happened. We built an 8 kilowatt machine in the same footprint as the alternator of a car.
Okay.
An alternator is 125 watt alternator that every car has, a small thing. We built an 8 kilowatt machine in that same footprint. 8 kilowatt machine. Yeah, we've done all that. बहुत जबरदस्त आ रहा है. Did that, implemented it for these customers. I think we realized a little late two things that were happening. One is that diesel pilferage is a very large industry by itself in this country.
I'm very happy the way you put it. I mean, it's an industry in itself.
It is an industry, and everyone knows about it. I think owners know about it.
They've come to accept it.
Drivers thrive on it. The gas pumps also know how this entire thing works. The only jokers who did not know about it, one of them is sitting here. वो कर दिया. अब everything is fine when you are piloting a solution because the driver is very nice, and then the driver suddenly realizes, अरे साला मेरा तो चक्कर हो गया. Now I can't do anything because the sir is asking, hey, यहाँ कहाँ थे, ये क्या हुआ, ये क्या हुआ, what did you wait, why did you do all this? So there was a lot of sabotage that started happening. I think the other thing that was also the case was, a driver, take a taxi driver, typically makes his buying decision for the next car once his mileage starts going down. Right. So if your mileage goes down by 20%, 25%, he suddenly starts thinking, yaar, ab ye gaadi, now about time for me to move this to a tier 2 town, tier 3 town, and I'll buy a new vehicle. We have a 60, 70,000 rupee solution that you can retrofit in your vehicle, which improves your mileage, documented and accepted by everyone, anywhere from 16% to 25, 20, 26%. And there were a few cases in Big Basket that went up to 33%. Documented, and you can find this in Economic Times also because there was a lot of coverage during those days. Fact. And so, you suddenly start thinking, यार ये तो मतलब बहुत अच्छा है, तो मैं why do I have to buy my car right now? मैं तो I put a 60,000 का लगा देता solution. Anyway, it is all financed.
Correct.
तो 60,000 का लगाता हूँ इसके अंदर लेके और delay my buying decision by 2 years. Obviously, someone doesn't like it. Who doesn't like it? The car manufacturer doesn't like it.
Okay. Because you're extending the life of a
car and delaying his buying decision for the new car. तो यार ये तो बड़ा चक्कर है. So that is when, this thing started, clash started happening.
It's beyond the technology reasons.
Yeah. So it had nothing to do with technology. Correct. Obviously, technology was maturing. We are getting better. We now have pressure die-cast motors. You'll be surprised how long we had gone on this. I mean, we had Indian Air Force ki flag cars were carrying our technology because they were on a green drive and all this. I mean, it was very, very good stuff. We were, all our T-shirts said every car a hybrid. We said, why should this not be part of every vehicle? Why should you ever make a vehicle which doesn't have a motor inside? Why? And you'll be surprised, we were making, battery packs using ultra capacitors for OEMs so that their large trucks that were in high altitude and would not start on these, we have supplied those packs. Wow. I mean, you'll be surprised, all kinds of things we've done. So
much more to unearth now, yes.
Dude. So, learnings, constant learnings happening on each and every area to understand what current voltages, what happens at temperature, lower temperature, higher temperature, how does lithium behave. So we made LTU packs back in 2014 and 15. We imported these cells and we made packs ourselves 2014, 15. बनाए. Lead acid, ultra capacitors, hybrid ultra capacitors and lithium together in one pack. We built all that ourselves. So one of the things we realized why we needed to build everything ourselves was that, India is a place where, day-to-day life is driven by abuse.
That's a constant for anything and everything here.
It's a constant. The environment, the needs are so diverse and so obtuse in a way, right? Potholes, dust, pebbles, grime, waterlogging, unprofessional driving. literally anything that is considered abuse anywhere else in the world
is considered a norm over here.
is a norm. Fact. Right? We have to accept.
ऐसा ही है.
आप मेरे को, I have yet to come across a single commercial vehicle driver who has gone to driving school. आप दिखा दो, एक ड्राइवर दिखा दो, सर ये ड्राइविंग स्कूल से आए हैं. Everyone starts like a छोटू, you know,
Oh, yeah, right.
जो ट्रक वाइप करते हैं, एकदम वो छोटू से बोलेगा यार ये आगे पीछे कर दो ट्रक, तो ये थोड़ा गियर, मेरे को नींद आ रही है, थोड़ा देर तू चला ले, and the next thing you know is same thing, whether it's a 3-wheeler, 4-wheeler truck, they know what the उस्ताद जी has told them. उस्ताद जी ने बोला ना ऐसे पैर रखने का, बस ऐसे ही रखने का, बिल्कुल मस्त चलता है एकदम. क्यों, हाउ, व्हाट विल बी द इम्पैक्ट ऑन द इंजन, ऐसे ही चलने का. Then he tells his, subordinate like this, and then that chain continues.
The
And
Ustad
because that
Chotu chain continues. So net
because that-
the one Ustad would have taught wrong is continuing down generations.
continuing, and no one tries to question it. But that's the way it is. Engine technology is changed. Now you're not supposed to do what you were doing when engines were knocking and we were using leaded fuel, and now we moved to unleaded, and then there were transmissions, and there were all kinds of things that have happened.
A lot of evolution has happened, but the driving systems
but the driving behaviors have not changed because there has been no upgrade to that education there. Now, I think a lot has changed. You'll be surprised. A lot has changed in the last 10 years.
Right.
I think a lot of these OEMs, larger OEM truck guys, all these guys have actually gone out with messages to drivers to educate the community and do all that. But that's it. So, given all this abuse, it is imperative that if we have to beat diesel, and diesel, petrol, LPG, CNG, honestly have done a fabulous job in this country. Fabulous job, because the vehicles they made have lasted us for hundreds of years. They still continue. सब कुछ हो रहा है.
Correct.
And they're able to take all the abuse. So EVs have to be made that can compete against these vehicles.
Correct.
In performance and in price.
Correct.
And until you make that happen, you're not going to make a killing. It will be a transition. It's taken us 120 years to get here, right? On the fossil fuel side. It won't happen overnight. It won't happen in 5 years, 10 years. But it has to happen. It will happen only when the systems are as dependable, as rugged, as good as those. Unfortunately, for the EV space, we have banked only on imports. Whether it was bad, underperforming, poor quality stuff coming from our neighbors, whether it was technology that was imported from Japan or Europe and Germany or other places. See, Max, we have to accept all technologies are designed, developed, fabricated, and manufactured for the Northern Hemisphere.
Yes.
आप कुछ बोलो, I will not accept. China, Japan, Europe, US.
Correct. And then
everything is and then it is thrown over to the Southern Hemisphere.
Correct. I like the way you put it. Yeah.
Fact है. Australia को exclude करो. So we are basically just
inheritors of the technology thrown to us.
Using whatever has been built for another geography. Only those people who innovated and changed it for our geography have made a killing in this country.
Yes.
And you know the names. Those who hung around and those people who were driven out. It's not that they had poor cars. So because their countries were surviving on these cars, but they could not do anything in India because they said, yahi hai, this works really well in our geographies, use it. But then, once you made that change, and this is true, you look at vehicles, you look at Innova. I mean, dude, that vehicle was launched at 9 lakhs. Today, that same vehicle with barely any change is selling for 31 lakhs.
Correct.
यार case study है इसके ऊपर. How do you take the same freaking platform and move from 9 to 31 over a 2 or 3 decades, and still that platform continues? It is still liquid cash, and anyone who uses it says कि बस
यही चाहिए.
अगला 10 साल बस 15 साल तो यही खींचेगा, मस्त हो गए. 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh, 5 lakh, 6 lakh kilometers.
I have certain Innovas which are like they take pride in that, sir. हजारों का हिसाब भी नहीं है वहाँ पर, number of kilometers. Correct.
But the same companies, the same models they got from abroad, they never made a killing here.
Correct.
I mean, Corolla was the largest selling model. Camry was the largest selling model for these companies. You didn't do indigenization for the. nahi chala.
So that is where the trigger for what you're doing right now. So where did that transition happen?
So that is where we said that, we will have to start by building components in India.
Okay.
Until I build a motor, controller, whatever, the basic building blocks of EVs, until they are made in India for India, you will never be able to design good vehicles. If you don't have the right building blocks, how will a vehicle be in a position to get sustained, to be rugged, and to be able to compete in these horrific situations?
Right.
The reality, overloading is a reality. Think about it. Every commercial vehicle in our country, 1.8 to 2x times overloaded every day. 1.8 to 2x, बॉस एक होता है कि मतलब 50 का 60 हो गया, 500 का 600 हो गया. 1.8 to 2x, 100% overload.
And all the time.
It is the nature of the beast.
Right.
That's why our chassis are so heavy. क्योंकि हम बनाते ही नहीं उस वेट क्लास के लिए. वो वेट क्लास तो सब सर होता है ऐसा है ना, वो तो लॉजिक है. सर गाड़ी लौट के खाली आती ना तो मतलब एवरेज हो गया, एवरेज हो गया.
Got it.
Everything is known by the driver. They know, they understand the business. I also realize the last thing they want to hear is for an OEM, a technologist, to come to him and then try to preach him कि नहीं यार तो ऐसा नहीं ना, ऐसा कर, इसको आधा करके, you should do 2 trips, it is very good for you, you should drive at 25 kilometer. Boss, I know my business. तेरे को गाड़ी है तो देने का, नहीं तो खाली पीली टाइम नहीं खराब करने का.
बराबर. That's
fact.
Absolutely.
They know. You can make incremental changes. You can tell them about things because of newer technology. You should do this, you should do that. That is all accepting. They understand logic, boss. They understand it. ये गलत तरीका हमारा सोचने का कि वो कुछ नहीं, we'll tell them. They know their business. They know their day-to-day life. They know how difficult it is to make that 15,000 rupees on a monthly basis. I'm talking about the lowest segment of society. It's a fact. And hence, if I have to make a change, so, if I take a step back, so components are extremely important. You need to be able to build those components first. And that's when we started doing that. We did not want to build all these components ourselves. I'll be honest about it. But it's just that we were not willing to compromise also, because we are an engineering first company.
Right.
We were not willing to compromise. अच्छा ऐसा करो, मोटर को कम आरपीएम पे चला लो. So what if it's not running at full efficiency? We'll run it at lower efficiency because I can source this, gearbox from this. नहीं, अगर उसमें चलाने तो फिर gearbox बनाने का. तो gearbox बनाने का तो कौन बनाएगा? तो we get some gearbox designers do that. Because you have this passion, no, I will not take no or substandard as an answer. It's extremely difficult. I'm not saying even today we've mastered the art of doing कुछ भी बना सकते. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है, boss. It's very, very, very complicated. But you have to have that drive. Most entrepreneurs in this country, and I'm talking about 97% of entrepreneurs failing, somewhere they lose that drive. And I don't know why there is this feeling constantly in most entrepreneurs, 2-year, 3-year window. Boss.
पैसा बना के निकलना.
पैसा बना के निकलना.
Then it shows in the way they run the business.
Boss, 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 years is what you have to come out with to say that, yes, I'm willing to dedicate so much time in my life. If you are not, ain't going to happen.
Correct.
Don't start by thinking, 2 साल 3 साल, I'll do this, I'll get acquired by him. आधे से ज़्यादा लोगों की तो strategy ये होती है. They will get acquired by him. And there's no harm with that strategy, but have a grandiose vision. Come up with some kind to say that, yes, this is the change I want to make happen. Then only people will align with you. People don't align because you made a very cool motor. उसके आगे क्या करना है मोटर के बाद? क्या? What is the coolness quotient?
Yes.
What is that purpose? The purpose behind that coolness, and then what do you plan to do with that coolness? How do you plan to take it out to people with other OEMs accept that coolness that you're providing to it? What will you have to do to make sure that they accept it? Otherwise, you made a great motor. So
when did this thing about, hey, listen, I want to to make a three-wheeler cargo vehicle. When did that, in this journey, when did that happen?
So a lot of the OEMs that we were unhappy with, some of them approached us and they said, Dr. Saab, बनाया तो अच्छा है, why fight? Why not collaborate? So we transitioned to a drivetrain company, an EV drivetrain company.
Okay.
And we were under contract by two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler and tractor manufacturers to build electric drivetrains for their future vehicles, which would get launched. So they're giving us money. We're receiving money in crores and we are designing and fabricating drivetrains
for them,
from two-wheelers all the way up to tractors.
Okay.
So this was from 3 kilowatt to about 45 kilowatt, air cooled to liquid cooled, the entire drivetrain. And we are doing this under contract. The idea is not to design these drivetrains for them, but the idea is that we will supply them with production-ready drivetrains going forward, right?
Okay.
Naive, all of us. This is 2016, 2017.
Okay.
2018 हो गया, ट्रेन बन गई, डिलीवर्ड, टेस्टिंग चल रही है, अभी टेस्टिंग हो रही है यार, 8, 9, 10 months कितनी मतलब कुछ next step. Now BS6 is coming in 2020. Every OEM is focusing on BS6. Correct. उसका दिमाग mindshare नहीं है इसके अंदर, EVs के अंदर.
This was just side project.
Side project है.
Side hustle.
For me it is my future. For them it is a side project. Right. They just wanted कि यार इनको मिल रहा है ना पैसा, तुम डिजाइन करो यार. Correct. So I think in 2018, 2019 is when we kind of decided that we should switch to becoming an OEM. If we wanted to drive the agenda for electrification, then the only way to do that would not be to ride on other OEMs and expect them to take it forward, but we would have to be aggressive in doing that. Correct. So 2018, we took that decision. We could have become a two-wheeler manufacturer, a three-wheeler manufacturer, a four-wheeler manufacturer, or a tractor manufacturer.
Right. And why you chose to be, that's exactly where I was going to go.
Max, you'll be surprised to know. 400 million people, 40 crore people, access a three-wheeler every day in India.
That's huge.
Between passenger and cargo. Fact. I'm including, for example, if I deliver something to your home, then it's two people, the driver and the person
anyone who's interfacing because
of 40 crore people a day is a three-wheeler. 40 crore. If I have to make a difference, where do you think I should focus on? 400 million a day, boss. Yeah, this was it's a segment, I have to say this on your channel, very unsexy. Right? No one wants, in fact, most reports. In fact, I was the first one who pointed it out in our Honorable Prime Minister's speech. He mentioned two-wheeler, four-wheeler trucks. And I said, yaar, ye three-wheeler ka speech hai. 400 people, 400 million every day. This
is the same understanding that I also had.
Fact hai, boss. And I am certain, I am saying this with 100% force in my speech to say that three wheels have not been exploited
as much as they should be internationally. Leave aside India.
I am talking about India and the emerging markets. When I say emerging markets, I mean South Asia, Africa, and South America. Okay. Because this is that part of the world which no one cares about. We are good to have, but we are a nuisance. तो तुम लोग अपना मैनेज कर लो भाई, करो. ये है, चला लो. नहीं बनता है तो अप्लाई करो कुछ. Now that because of geopolitical situation, now India is becoming more and more important, and hence things are going to be different, and Europe is losing its sheen. So a lot of things are happening in the geopolitical space, but this is what was going on up until now, and hence I strongly believe that three wheels can be exploited a lot more. Three wheels and auto rickshaw became synonymous across the world. वो टुक टुक बोलो, कुछ बोल लो, घूम फिर के वही है, तीन पहिए. And I do believe that we've not done enough work to figure out how three wheels can be used in different formats, in long, length, two in front, one behind, all kinds of things that can be done because new use cases are emerging. So it's not that वही वाला auto rickshaw वही हर जगह जाएगा and everything will be the same. It's not like that. The use case is different. Now you have metros running. From metro you have to come 2 kilometers. आप देखो, मैं सच बताऊँ, दिल्ली में देखो आप, you ask for a cab for a metro station. He knows कि पहली बात तो I will not find any place to stand there. Cops will keep on moving me over there. So he will, most of them will not even show up at the metro stop.
Correct.
Plus he knows कि यहाँ से 2 किलोमीटर ही जाएगा आदमी.
बराबर.
Right? तो क्यों झक मारेंगे? But he doesn't want to cancel. Otherwise he will lose money. So this joker is not even in that vicinity. He will say, हाँ सर कहाँ हैं आप? सच बता रहा हूँ. And he will say, हाँ मैं यहाँ बाहर खड़ा हूँ, बाहर आ गया हूँ, प्लेटफॉर्म पे आ गया हूँ. सर कहाँ हैं आप? दिख नहीं रहे. तो वो बोलेगा कि सर मैं वो ये पेड़ देख रहे हैं, पेड़ के वो जो ऊपर वो बोर्ड लगाया है उसके नीचे पेड़ के. देयर आर हंड्रेड्स ऑफ ट्रीज एंड हंड्रेड्स ऑफ बोर्ड्स ओवर देयर. आपको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. फिर वो बोलेगा सर जरा हाथ हिलाइएगा. आप कभी उतर के आइएगा स्टेशन में, 3 जोकर खड़े होंगे, हाथ हिला रहे हो वहां पे, वो हाथ ही हिलाते रहते. वो देयर इज नो वन देयर, बट
That's how it works.
This guy is waiting that someone will show up, and then you realize a little later he was, he's taken me for a ride. So you'll cancel and you'll take your own cab. But that's it. Mobility form factors are changing.
Okay.
And I do believe very strongly that OEMs have to be cognizant of that. You can't keep looking at another geography and saying, well, it's working there, so it will work over here. No, our use cases are different. The needs of these use cases are different. See how quickly we evolved. I mean, from the time the first electric three-wheeler was launched with a 7 kilowatt-hour battery pack to now, new ones that are coming out with 13 and a half, 14 kilowatt battery packs.
Yes.
क्या हुआ? उधर भी यूज केस लेकिन आ गया. उधर भी वो 100, 200, 300, 500 vehicles वहां भी बिक रहा है.
Correct.
That was never the use case. Because I have interviewed 1600 auto rickshaw drivers and they all said ki, 90 to 100 kilometers. Boss, that 6 to 7 kilowatt hour battery pack was never that use case.
Right.
That was a 60, 70 kilometer use case. But that also emerged.
Right.
And they are happy with the price of that vehicle. And then there's a 100, 120 kilometer and then there is a larger one. And there is a fast charge bhi hai. समझ में आता सबको. Everyone's understanding. कि this is my need.
Correct.
And मेरे को उस need का चाहिए सर.
बराबर. And the smartest one in this is the driver.
Everyone understands, boss. And India has that unique distinction. We got these cheap three-wheelers from China. India has about 30 lakh, 3 million e-rickshaws.
Yes.
And they're mostly in the northern and eastern part of the country. Fact.
And no one even saw that. That's an entire electrification program which went on its own.
6 to 7 lakh. 6 to 7 years, sorry. 6 to 7 years. 3 million of them. Boss, 3 million. Not a single ad. 463 registered manufacturers in our country. 30 lakh every night and possibly once during the day charge themselves. Boss, did we ever ask any of these guys? What charging infrastructure are you using? Park and charge कहाँ करता है? कितना लगता है? ये क्या होता है? वो क्या होता है? Grade ये वो किसी ने पूछा आज तक? 3 million. Dude, it's going to take a while before L5 reach there. They're already plying. Correct. Every day, twice a day charge होते हैं. Because I have traveled for many weeks between UP, Bihar, Northern West Bengal and Sikkim just trying to understand how they exist and how that ecosystem coexists along with a shared passenger three-wheeler diesel, ये जो ग्रामीण सेवा and ये जो विक्रम and all these वो and बजाज आरी तीनों coexist करते हैं boss. How does that work? What happens? Where do you charge? Is there a concept of park and charge? Who's charging these vehicles? घर पे charge कर रहा है, घर कहाँ रह रहा है, कहाँ charge कर रहा है?
Correct.
Boss, होता है every day. There are mohalla level park and charge facilities. You'll be surprised to know बुड्ढे बाबा सोते हैं, वो उठते हैं, वो change करे, दूसरा change करेगा. Every day you will get a vehicle, every night. And they pay anywhere from 40 rupees to 140 rupees.
Correct.
Just to ensure that whether they have their system signed. And most of them are running their vehicles on a dihadi.
Right.
There's a local dada who owns 10, 20,
Yes.
30 vehicles, and he gives it out on dihadi. And these are youth, unemployed youth. They drive the vehicle every day, 200 रुपए per day. 201 तो कमाना जरूरी है बॉस, अदरवाइज ही विल नॉट ब्रिंग इट बैक. ही नोज कि वो तो निकाल लेगा पैसा मुझसे. And that is why you step on the road and there are 5 people like a conference room table who will come to you and say, हमारे में बैठिए, हमारे में बैठिए.
Correct.
फैक्ट है बॉस, इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन इन इंडिया, दीज गाइस अंडरस्टैंड. कोई किसी को डर नहीं लगता ये बिजली हो जाएगा, कुछ नहीं, मुझे पता है. आप जाइए करोल बाग में, आजकल ई रिक्शा के साथ एक फ्री मोटर देते हैं. बॉस ये चेंज जो होगा ना, दिस इज गोइंग टू हिट पीपल वेरी सून. This change that you will start seeing, this technology shift. Technology is no longer going to be determined by hardware.
But then tell me, then the e-rickshaws, as they say, or e-carts, e-rickshaws versus L5. Why the choice to go into L5 then, not try to better what was there existing in the e-cart, e-rickshaw segment?
I think the challenge of an e-rickshaw, very honestly, is, it's not the price point. It's the quality of the vehicle and its capabilities. I assure you, if it was running under that sub 1 kilowatt motor, under 25 kilometers per hour, there is no chance it would be able to carry all the load and the people, etc., that it is carrying today. नहीं हो सकता. Physics will not allow it. तो वो भी चलता है उसके अंदर.
Correct.
Number 2, for that price point, to be able to get that quality, there's a reason why he's giving a free motor along. भाई पहले तो they used to give a throttle.
Right.
तो throttle टूटता था. So they used to give an extra throttle along with every rickshaw. Why so that doesn't get stranded in the middle of the road. Now he's giving a motor. यार ये मतलब ऐसे थोड़ी ना. So there is a quality deficiency. It is a fact, right? And that is happening because there is a certain price point that has been set. And everyone understands at that price point, I have to make enough money to be able to, for it to last 9 months to 12 months. Everyone has recovered money. Everyone has made money in the process of it. E-waste is being generated. ये fact है.
Correct.
Most of these are operating on lead acid batteries.
Yes.
They tried to get into lithium. They realized that the cost doesn't work. Move to lead acid, which is again polluting and all those kinds of things. I think I'm not saying that we have to get away from L5. I think the battle is not between L3 and L5.
Okay.
If you make good quality vehicles, you call it whatever you feel like calling it. Good quality vehicles that will last 5 to 10 years, that will give you the benefits that you're looking for, that will be running at a specific speed, at a specific, be able to take a certain load. It should not be those. I mean, there's a reason why beyond the Vindhyas, you don't have these vehicles, right?
Right.
They were used by a lot of these governments in the various states to create employment schemes.
Yes.
Fact ये है. ठीक है, it was not by choice.
Right.
But वो employment schemes की तरह हुआ, फिर एकदम suddenly वो हो गया. A lot of unemployed youth क्या करें? You look at, these are the most populated states of the country where these are applying, because this is the only. So करे क्या आदमी यार? It's not that it is used as a source of transportation. Yes, it became one of those, but that was not the call.
That's correct.
Right? I think if you give good vehicles that can carry people, and goods at a certain speed, with a certain, not just ruggedness, but certainty that yes, this is going to happen on this date, on this time. I am certain that it's going to happen. I think reliability is the most important thing. If you make these kinds of vehicles, there are enough people and an already set business model. Look at three-wheeler industry. There are about 700,000 L5 vehicles sold every year in India. 700,000. 600,000 are exported. So India manufactures and sells 1.3 million three-wheelers, including passenger and cargo, every year in this country. 1.3 million. These are fossil fuel vehicles, and this is an established market. आप इलेक्ट्रिक बनाए ना बनाए, ये तो बिक ही रहा है।
हाँ, बराबर।
स्टैब्लिश्ड मार्केट, ठीक है। एक डीजल 3 व्हीलर आता है 3.5 लाख का, 3.5 लाख और डीजल 3 व्हीलर, एंड बॉक्स टू बॉक्स लगा के वो सेम साइज सेम पावर का, यू नो, एंड ईवी इज अबाउट 50,000-60,000 मोर. I'm just apples to apples. If I'm giving you, options, financing options, उधर 50,000, इधर 50,000 डाउन पेमेंट दिया, then you are comparing on a monthly basis how much you spend on diesel
versus how much you save on electric,
on charge, and there it's clear. There's a reason why commercial vehicles are adopting these and will continue to do these, and there is a reason why passenger vehicles will be slow to adopt it. I am saying the same thing for two-wheelers, and I've been saying this. Look at my first interview. More than 3 years back, I said, two-wheelers, देखना थोड़ा सा change होगा. Because these are, we sell 21 million two-wheelers a year. Boss, 1 million is nothing. We sell 21 million two-wheelers a year. तो ये एक chasm आता है बीच में. Early adopters होते हैं. Correct. Maybe a lot of early adopters and all the financing schemes and all kinds of things that you throw zero down, ये वो इतनी warranty, इतना warranty, सब मस्त. Boss, we are India. We are very sharp people when it comes to, what am I getting? What is the value of what price versus value? We are very clear about things. Very clear. I still have my questions about this. Do I really, until the charging network and all that becomes ubiquitous, I can do anything everywhere. Take China as an example. Anywhere you can already plug in a two-wheeler. Anywhere. So, सोचने से कितनी जगह, यहाँ नहीं है अभी. There was a reason why this guy was carrying his two-wheeler, 18 floors up and then charging it in his kitchen.
Yes.
क्या करे आदमी? You're crazy. So I'll do it. But, that's not how you're going to scale. The TCO benefit is maybe 500 rupees, 600 rupees a month.
Got it.
And I've always maintained you spend more on bloody popcorn when you go and watch a movie in this country.
But then, Altigreen right now, it's seen as a three-wheeler OEM, electric three-wheeler OEM. What is your aspiration with Altigreen? Where is this going? What's next?
So it's clear to me that the starting point for us was the formats that are available today that we have. But that's a starting point for us.
Correct.
So in our stable and in our labs, we are working on newer formats of vehicles. And these formats are of different configurations of wheels with different use cases. And I'm not restricting myself to just 3 wheels.
Okay.
But I've always maintained, when people have said, are you working on a two-wheeler? We've always said, no, we will add wheels. We will not subtract wheels. That is our game so far.
Correct.
So currently, we are making sure that we come with well-engineered vehicles that, that can be a replacement for fossil fuel vehicles.
Correct.
Right? Once that is done and the adoption is high, and you look at this, I'm saying there's a reason why, the adoption on the cargo side has already been 23%.
Correct.
23% penetration, dude. And no wonder the government is rethinking this entire exercise of subsidy by 23%. और कितना लोगे? I had to give that lighter fuel, I've given it. That is their logic.
Correct.
Whether they should continue again, that's a different debate.
Thing, yes.
But I'm saying that it has reached that. And passenger three-wheelers are getting to that very quickly. It's expanding. And this year, you're going to see a 12-13% penetration. Passenger is the lion's share. Cargo out of that 7 lakhs, pretty much 100% of exports are passenger. So 600,000 the passenger. On the cargo side, of that 700,000 that I mentioned, only about 1.3 to 1.4, maybe 1.5 lakh are cargo.
Got it.
The rest 5.5 lakh are passengers. So passenger has a lion's share. 12-13% penetration in that is going to be phenomenal, boss.
Correct.
देखना इस year क्या होगा. because everyone is seeing TCO benefit, and the ruggedness and the quality of the vehicle is decent.
Recently sorted
Boss,
now.
people think that there's no downtime to diesel vehicle. आप देखो, बात करो जाके. There's a reason why there are so many workshops ना.
Correct.
बॉस अगर नहीं खराब हो रहा तो क्यों
So
every 15 meters there is a guy who's getting fixing it, you know, they tilt it and चालू है उस पे.
correct. But then this is where for the fact that you come with a lot of learning and your approach to doing things is a lot of research based, if I were to say. So what's really happening in, when I understand three-wheelers, etc., but in India or let's say globally, what's happening on the battery technology? Many people would want to know about that because there is this always this, why now? Well, let's wait for a newer technology. So Dr. Amitabh Saran, this was great, and this brings me to the end of part 2 of our conversation, interesting conversation with Dr. Amitabh Saran. Until we meet you in the next part of this episode, thank you so much for watching us. Keep watching Maxson Mobility.